everybody. Welcome. It was not yesterday. Let's just put it like that. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Martin. I am a student studying, I'm not going to say mechanical engineering, more as I'm in my master right now, studying supply chain and logistics. And we are getting really close to finally having that degree in the bag. That's exciting. I think. I hope so. We're telling ourselves that it's exciting at the very least. But I have, now that we're so close to the end, things are starting to, like, the friction is really there. So, as much as, straight off the bat, as much as I would like to have you watch this or take any value away from this video, hand to my heart, I am just here to keep myself accountable and to not let negative thoughts overwhelm me and hold me back. We need to study. I have an exam in a week, in 8 days. 8 days, we're gonna say a week. And the focus for the exam is international distribution. So how trade and goods and people to a degree is transported throughout the globe, and making calculations for where you should set up distribution centers and where you should source your material and how to make it as economical and efficient as possible. And I have been procrastinating a little bit too much when it comes to my studies, but we're here. We have this moment right now, and I am going to try and go through an old exam together, or well, not together, but I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna record it at the same time. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see if I click here, right here. This is the exam that we're gonna be going through. It was given in 22, so that was 4 years ago, to pretty exact. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions that we need to go through and try and understand and master to the best of our ability. And I will not be answering them, or the goal of this first pass is not to answer them in as great a detail as possible, but basically to try and prime, or to make as good of as an educated guess as possible to what the correct answer would be. But we're also going to set somewhat of a time limit, because this is not the main learning session. This is the getting the lay of the land session and what everything will entail. So I am going to set a timer for 30 minutes, and we will get ourselves going. So it is 11:09 right now. That should ring at 11:40. And yeah, and I also figured out I'm gonna have the exam right here, but I have my iPad screen mirroring directly to, this took a while to figure out how to do this, but this is just, I think this is really cool. This is like peak sharing, peak live studying. And I'm gonna try and go through as much of my thought process and what I take away and how I think about each question as I can. Also, before we start with that, I'm a subscriber. I got early access to a software called Eden, which is built by a guy called Danko. Other story, but Either way, it's I've uploaded all of the readings, lectures, the big thing. How do you put it? Projects right here. Go away. There you go. I have all of the lectures, lecture slides, and the different Jesus, I'm losing track. Readings uploaded here, which basically means that I can just ask this AI, hey, for example, I did this for, I can close you for now, and I will get back to you. I did the first question. I was like, I am not sure what this means. Why do I find information about that? And I was like, right here, and it's so useful. Sure, there's other ways to do this, but I've locked myself in for a year, I think, to this one, so we'll use what we got, basically. And let's see, if we keep the main video, or the main part is our understanding, which is that throughout the entire course we have kept on coming back to this image right here, of how it is all structured, or all the different things that you need to think about. Yeah, so we're gonna go for it. And I know for a fact, since before, that, let's see, yeah, we're good. If we start with the first question, describe or define the following concepts and discuss where and how it is applied. So, Incoterms. Incoterms, 1A, Inco, stands for international commerce. It's basically I have an image in the back of my mind with a big table like so, where when we're transporting a good or piece of equipment from one part of the world to another, there's a bunch of different checkpoints that this one goes through, and there's different modes of transport that we can use, and depending on the journey, depending on the choice of mode or transportation mode that we choose, we'll go through different checkpoints, and we will have these checkpoints right here. So we'll do 1, 2, n minus 1, n, something like that. And then we have Incoterms is basically an agreement between the sender and the receiver when it comes to who has responsibility for the goods if something goes wrong. Like who makes sure that the goods get to this checkpoint or to this checkpoint. If this up here is the first part where we're shipping it, shipper or sender, right, sender 0, and then receiver. We want to go through this one like so, and then we have the Incoterms, which basically state it is. I don't know how many it is. I think it's 20 plus. So we'll call it A, B, C, da da da, with different abbreviations that all basically stipulate the sender is responsible for up until this point, and then the receiver takes responsibility for the remainder of the transportation. That is my understanding of it's basically a legal document or a legal term to agree between sender and receiver. I think we're gonna hold with that. Okay. B is bill of lading. I'm actually not sure. Bill of lading. I'm gonna assume bill of lading is shipping document is very vague, but we're gonna start off on that end. Shipping document. Any context clues that I can use to try and figure out what that means. Lading. I don't know I haven't heard that word before. What would be relevant when you ship something? It would be how much it weighs, right? That doesn't look like weight. That looks like a weight. Kilo, how big it is. So the volume. From where to where. If there's any dangerous material. We're gonna have to get back to this one. The beautiful thing here is that I could ask Eden and just be like, hey, I need to learn more about what bill of lading means. Where can I read up on that? I could just ask it, but let's just give it a shot. Let me move you over here. I need to learn about bill of lading. Can you give me a brief overview and in where can I read more about Jesus? There you go. Come on. Oh, look at that. Okay. 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 Plot. Okay. All right. Sure. We'll keep that going. I felt like our estimation, our first guess was pretty good, pretty on point. Let's keep it going. Oh my god, it's already been 12 minutes. We'll have to speed this up in order to at least touch point on all of them. The questions further on is a lot more meatier. Role function of terminals: receiving and transporting goods. It's a checkpoint to. Is a touch point to control the flow of goods, both import and export. We'll keep it at that. The functional utility of distribution and transportation. Function and utility of distribution and transportation. This is a weird question. Describe and define the following concepts. Where and how it is applied. The function and utility of distribution and transportation. I mean, transportation is the sort of the lifeblood, distribution for that matter as well, but it enables international trade and it allows for economic growth, because one region in the world, one region over here, can be based on natural resources or population density or certain way the education system is structured, has a lower cost to produce either some type of goods or service that they can then, with distribution and transportation, transfer to the rest of the world, where it would be they can sell it cheap. They can offer the service that is needed there for less than what the receiver would be able to do on their own. Let's keep it at that. Advantages and disadvantages of motor carriers or trucks and air as transportation modes. Well, trucks is locked into a continent. If we don't have road to drive on, to a degree, I mean, you can put it on a boat, but you could technically put it on a plane, but putting a truck on a plane is very unintuitive. Airplanes, the biggest advantage is that you can take the straight road, right? From A to B, we can go the bird path directly. So we don't need to do any weird pathing that would add mileage and distance. The big advantage with trucks is that it's cheaper. It takes longer, but it is cheaper to transport. And airplanes is still the most expensive way to, by a big margin, to transport goods. But if you have something perishable, such as fresh food, that's a classic example, that needs to go from Ecuador to Germany, then you don't really have a choice. You need to get it to the hands of the consumers before it goes bad. So there's a place for it. Basic understanding. Assume you are the logistics manager of a food retailer and you're currently considering potential risks with regards to transporting food items from the central warehouse to the stores. Okay. Explain the process and process stages you would follow to manage such transport risks. I know what this is connected to. This is risk management, which is risk management is basically, let me pull this up again. Management, it's 7 to 8 points. Everything from mitigation to acceptance. think about everything, close to everything that could go wrong. From, again, this is like this thing, this right here describes the entire flow. We're transporting goods from A to B in essence. Then we do it in a different way, but everything that could fail along this path. And then we think about, okay, what would the economic cost be for that? How can we mitigate it? Can we eliminate it completely? Elimination is part of this as well. And so you first need to assess. You need to start with assessing the big image. We observe. Number one would be observe and assess. The second one would be when we have identified all possible things that could go wrong, we need to define the potential cost of that as well. So I would say, like, look more closely, gather more data. Is this, and then you basically see that, like, attach a monetary value, because when you have a monetary value, you can, Jesus Christ, attach money to the risk itself. So if there's a 1% risk that your truck would get hijacked, what would the cost of that be? And then when you've done that, you can label it. You can say that, well, or you can try and think of any what the possibility of what's it called, eliminating or mitigating through insurance or something like that. And it basically becomes a question of what are your priorities? Are we willing to accept this cost? Can we choose a different route? Is this too costly? We need to change our entire strategy. So we attach a monetary value, and based on that, we say if the risk is acceptable. If the risk is acceptable, if we can eliminate it altogether, if we can mitigate it through insurance. Reversal, I think, is incorrect. Yeah. And then you implement the risk management strategies that you find for your specific process. Yeah. Maybe we should have made it more specific to a food retailer. From the central warehouse to the stores. Yeah, I'd probably go more in depth in this specific case. I spoke very abstract, very general. Explain the process, identify 3 potential risks and assess them with respect to probability and impact. Exactly, probability and impact. And motivate your assessment. Food retailer, from central warehouse to the stores. Well, and you basically need to think about what are the different stages that these products are going through. So it is being brought. We're gonna assume that we're using trucks to go from the central warehouse to the stores. Putting it on the truck. Food is generally perishable and they are temperature sensitive, so we need to make sure that that does not play a role. So we'll just have to have a controlled environment that we ship it in, either boxes or specialized trucks. Because once the stores have received it, it is like you can we're through with the shipping pit. I'd say that one. Theft, would that be a thing? I mean, it is a risk. It's a potential risk, but if somebody were to steal something, why would they steal food produce? Maybe it's meat. Maybe it's that. Maybe. 3 potential risks. What else could there be? 3 potential risks. I mean, you can name basically anything. Delays, traffic that would cause us to like if we have a time slot, time that we can ensure that the quality we maintain the quality, and then but because of traffic it takes longer than allowed, that would be a risk. So we need to budget for that. For example, general risk mitigation strategies, I gave them here. There are 3 potential risks. Can I think of a third one? I really can't, can I? That was a bit tricky. No? Okay, we're moving on. One common way of classifying logistics service providers is by looking at the resources and assets they rely upon to fulfill the requirements of their customers. Hence, there's often a distinction between asset-based and non-asset-based logistics service providers. Okay. Define and explain the concepts of one versus the other. I mean, asset-based is that you own your assets. You can provide the infrastructure, the locations, the trucks, whatever it is. That is, you have assets to employ. Whereas non-asset is, I'm not going to say 3PLs or third party logistics, but it's more that you work as a more agency based, connecting people who want to ship with people who have capacity to ship and handle the goods. Okay, provide one example of service each type of provider would offer. I'll have to read up on this for sure. That's fine. Again, this is, if you've watched this far, I don't know why you would have. I hope you took something away from this, but this is me to stay accountable. Provide one example of service each tech provider would offer. Briefly explain two key benefits of using asset-based service providers. I could read up on this and make a dedicated YouTube video of like, okay, here's how you differentiate between asset-based and non-asset-based logistics service providers, and just list it through like that. We could do that. That would be very beneficial, I think. But right now I don't have any really solid frameworks more than what I mentioned before. Do you have the fleet to employ or not? I think we're gonna hold it there. I need to eat, to be honest. We're gonna pick this up later. We're cutting it 2 minutes short, roughly. That's fine. Yeah, we're gonna keep on rehearsing and repeating this, and hopefully it will get better and clearer, and I will be able to share more succinct and in general valuable pieces to you. So see this as a first iteration. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next.